Hey everybody, it's Eric here from the Fraudiophile, here to do my 2024 vinyl tag. So, gonna go through, talk about a few records, go through the 20 questions, and yeah, I'll try to make this quick. Great opportunity for people in the vinyl community to make a video about this. It's only the second video I've made. So if this appeals to you at all, please subscribe and like my channel. Trying to build a little bit of an audience here talking about music, which is one of my favorite things in the entire world, especially talking about vinyl. So let's jump right into it. So the first question, the favorite record that you bought in 2023. For me, this is gonna be relatively easy. One of my favorite artists came out with a new album. Went and saw him in concert with this. It's gonna be Jason Isbell and Weather Vanes. So Weather Vanes is a fantastic record from beginning to end. It really gets into everything from acoustic to the heavy guitar rock that Jason does along with Sadler Vaden. Just two phenomenal guitar players. There really aren't any better songwriters out there today, in my opinion, than Jason. Really, since Southeastern, he's been fantastic. And Weather Vanes is quickly become one of my favorite albums, probably my second favorite behind Southeastern of Jason's records. I've listened to this a ton this year. Plan on keeping it in heavy rotation here in the upcoming year as well. Second question, last record that you bought in 2023. For me, this is not a new record, something I've listened to streaming quite a bit, but it's Something Else by Cannonball Adderley, which many people actually consider it a Miles Davis record, just because there's so much of Miles' trumpet work on this. It's just fantastic. Really got into jazz this last year as I've upgraded my stereo system in my main listening room. This is actually my office here in my vintage system. But on my main system, as I've upgraded that, I really started listening to more and more jazz. Found out how much I actually really enjoy jazz. It's soothing, it's relaxing. Every time you listen to a jazz record, you find something new in it. It seems like every single time you listen to it. And Something Else is one of my favorites. It's the last record I picked up in 2023, right at the end of December. Next question is a band that released 2 albums in the same year. For me, this one was pretty easy. Let's go with CCR. Back in, I believe it was 1969, they came out with both Green River and Bayou Country. It's just amazing the amount of work that they put out in a couple of year period. You can add in, I believe it's Cosmos Factory. It was right around the same time too, within another year or two. Love CCR, can throw it on anytime. It's one of those bands that everybody knows, very few people don't like them, and you can always throw it on whenever you're around the crowd. If I could only listen to music from one decade, what decade would that be? For me, that's pretty easy. It's going to be the 90s. As somebody who graduated high school in 94, through my high school and college years is the most formative time for my music listening experience. The record I pulled for this, Dinosaur Jr.'s Where You Been, just absolutely loved Dinosaur, loved Jay and his guitar work. Really, 90s is when I opened up from listening to what was on the radio to what I really enjoyed and loved. Especially in the early 90s, I think is when I found my niche for what I really enjoy listening to, and spent pretty much every extra dollar I had from bagging groceries in high school on CDs locally at my Face the Music store, which I greatly miss. From Manchester, a record from somebody from Manchester, England. This is tough. I actually didn't have a lot. I actually have to go with Graham Nash, Crosby, Stills and Nash. Not a gigantic fan of these guys. Love the acoustic music. It's good for the right mood, but not something I pull off the shelf a ton. I will say I did listen to this specific record right after David Crosby died quite a bit. But yeah, Graham Nash, Manchester, UK. My favorite band probably from Manchester is actually Oasis. Getting back to the 90s like I mentioned before, but I don't actually own any Oasis on vinyl. Listen to the band or artist I listened to the most in 2023. This is easy. Pink Floyd, absolute huge Floyd fan. Rarely does a week go by that I don't throw on a Floyd record of some sort. I decided to pull Wish You Were Here. This is one of my one of my probably 2, 3 favorite Floyd albums. I've almost got the entire discography, and it's one of my 2024 goals is to finish off that Floyd discography. Just need to pick up The Endless River and More, are the only 2 I don't have. But yeah, listen to Floyd all the time. The next question I'm actually going to skip. It's 7 inches. I don't collect 7 inches. I've got a couple around. Rarely do I ever take them off the shelf. I listen to albums, love listening to albums from the beginning to end. So singles really don't do a ton for me. The next one, 4 music-related people that you would like to hang with at a dinner party, alive or dead. Man, this one opens up so many opportunities. I'd have to go with Frank Sinatra, just because I want to hear about the life the guy lived. Paul McCartney, I would say, just because I love the Beatles and would love to hear his experiences over all of the years since his Beatles and beyond. Let's go with somebody crazy like a G.G. Allin, just because he's an absolute whack job and would be fun to have dinner with and have a conversation with. And I guess the last one would be, I'd have to say Eddie Vedder, just because I love Pearl Jam. I love Eddie's point of view. And I think he'd just be a fun person to have at dinner as well. We lost them in 2023. Again, this pick was very easy for me. It's going to be Robbie Robertson. Absolutely love the band. Love some of his solo work. Music from Big Pink is my favorite album from the band. Just a tragic loss. Pretty much every year around Thanksgiving time, usually the night before Thanksgiving. This is a tradition that's been pushed by Stephen Haydn, one of my favorite music critics, is to watch The Last Waltz. We've actually done that the last few years, and it always makes me smile when I think of kind of how goofy the entire band was between Danko and Robbie Robertson, and then Levon Helm trying to kind of stabilize and keep them all together. But Robbie Robertson definitely be missed. Yeah, it's the one person I'll miss the most who passed away in 2023. The next question is, if you could only listen to music from one country, what would it be? I actually had to think about this one for a little bit. I'm a huge fan of British music, but I definitely have to go with the US. I think the music that I listen to most is, I would still be early 90s. We're talking Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Nirvana, Dinosaur Jr., just a lot of the heavy guitar rock from the early 90s. And as I've gotten older, I've actually started morphing into listening to more Americana. I've really gotten into Uncle Tupelo, Wilco, Son Volt, Ryan Adams, groups like that, Jason Isbell, Drive-By Truckers. Has really been my sweet spot for the last few years. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm really getting into jazz too. So can't really have jazz without having the United States. It's almost all of the jazz music was generated here. 3 vinyl community channels that I discovered this last year. So the first one I'm going to give a shout out to is NTX Vinyl. So G.I. Sanders down in the Dallas, Texas area. He actually runs a record store down there. But his YouTube channel is phenomenal. His Talking About Record series is great. I've actually purchased a bunch of records from him over the years based on the knowledge that he's passed along there. And also a member of the NTX Vinyl Now Spinning group on Facebook. It's just a great positive place that people go, post pictures of whatever you're spinning. Great community to interact with there. Great group of people. We've even done things like a Secret Santa this year where I've got a few records from people, sent some records out to them. It's just a wonderful community and a great place to kind of go to every day, see what people are spinning, gives you ideas of what you want to spin. Rex Burks, who's one of the administrators there, puts out a challenge every day. Helps you pull records off of your shelf that you usually wouldn't. So the first one is definitely G.I. Sanders and NTX Vinyl and his channel. The second one would be The Long Cut. Absolutely love listening to this guy. Just, very down to earth. Talks not only about music, but about mental health and how music can change your mental health. And, just the joy that you get from concerts. And you can just feel the joy that he has for music on his channel. So definitely recommend The Long Cut. It's great. The third one I would say is Lost Mixtapes. Really like this channel. Again, another guy who is just loves music, very down to earth, happy to sit down and talk about his favorite records. He just did a wonderful thing where he talked about ranked all the REM's records from worst, if you can call one worst, to best. So also he spent a lot of time in the Minneapolis area. I'm from Minnesota, so touches on a lot of the places that I visited, places that I've gone to concerts like First Avenue, 400 Club, Turf Club, places like that. So yeah, check those three out. NTX Vinyl, The Long Cut, and Lost Mixtapes. I'll throw all of their links down in the description of the video here as well. A record you bought as a teen. Well, I didn't really buy records when I was a teen. My parents got rid of all of their stereo equipment. I'm actually trying to recreate the whole stereo that my dad had when I was growing up with this Pioneer receiver and turntable. It's not actually the original that we had. I think we tossed it in the garbage at some point in the late 80s, early 90s. So I actually bought nothing but CDs and some cassettes when I was that age. But the first CD I actually remember buying is going to be Metallica's Black Album. I got a CD player in 1991. I think the first CD that was given to me was Motley Crue's Decade of Decadence. And then the Black Album came out, grabbed this, listened to it, and absolutely pretty much destroyed the CD that had so much play in my little CD boombox at the time. So definitely be the first album I can remember buying on my own. Number 13, a funk or soul record. There's only one name to go with, right? When you're talking funk soul. For me, for funk, it's got to be Parliament. Mothership Connection is fantastic. Just listen to this from the beginning to end. It's one genre I actually want to get more into that I haven't listened to a ton of is funk. My friend Tony Evanson from high school is a huge funk enthusiast. I know he's got like 1,000 different funk records, and someday, Tony, I'm coming to your house and I'm gonna grab a handful over there. All right, record that everyone has and a record that no one has. Record that everybody has, come on, right? Fleetwood Mac Rumors. If you don't have Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, are you even a vinyl enthusiast? Are you a record collector if you don't have this in your collection? I think people still have this laying around. This copy actually belonged to my mom. It was part of a box of records that my parents had stashed for years and years. It really jump-started my vinyl collecting about 10 years or so ago. Everybody's got to have Rumors. Still a great record. Still holds up today. The one nobody has, and maybe I'm overestimating with that, but any chance I get to talk about one of my favorite bands, I'm going to do. This is Low, The Great Destroyer. Low's a Minnesota band based out of the Twin Cities. Alan Sparhawk and his wife, Mimi Parker, who passed away this last year. Tremendous loss losing her. I guess I could have had that for my people we lost in 2023 as well, although I think she may have actually died in late 2022. Beautiful harmonies, great songwriting. A lot of people call them slowcore as a genre, but they really changed a lot over the years. This is probably their most accessible record. If you want to start somewhere, I would definitely say start with The Great Destroyer. If you like Low, if you have this record, put a note in the comments below. Tell me I'm an idiot for saying I'm the only one that has this. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Low, check them out. They're fantastic. Female artist. Now this one, I'm going to go with Olivia Rodrigo. So this is Sour. My daughter, who's 12 years old, absolutely loves Olivia Rodrigo. I've got tickets to go see her, taking Annika and two of her friends up there in March to St. Paul to go see her. It's just great music. It reminds me of kind of early 90s guitar music. She writes to a broad audience, but really speaks to those young girls, and it's actually pretty empowering for these young girls. So happy to say I like Olivia Rodrigo. I will actually listen to this record occasionally, although it sits in my daughter's room and she's the one that plays it most of the time. The favorite video that I posted this last year and the favorite video that I watched. I'd have to say the favorite video that I've posted is very easy because I've only posted one before this. And that was the top 10 records that I listen to most often. Not necessarily the favorite records, but the ones I listen to most often. So if you like this video, scroll back, take a look at that one and see what you think of it. The favorite that I've watched, it's actually from a couple of years ago, but I watched it a ton this year. It's from Mike at the In Groove, who talks about the 100 best in-print analog records. I don't know why. I'm not like an analog purist by any stretch of the imagination, but I love the video. Super informative. fills in a lot about different jazz records and has really pointed me in a great direction where I could start to build a jazz collection. And just talks about great sound quality records, most of them being analog. And like I mentioned before, talking about jazz, as I've been building out my stereo system this year, bought some new bookshelf speakers that I really like from ELAC. And actually I've been experimenting with a pair of Magnapan MMGs. Just love how the Soundstage sounds with those. So I have pulled some of those records that Mike recommends that are all analog, and yeah, they sound fantastic on my system. Number 17, 90s classic. This would be one of the first records, or I'm sorry, first CDs that I ever purchased too after Metallica. 10 by Pearl Jam. It doesn't get any more 90s than this to me. Absolutely love Pearl Jam. They're another one that I'm trying to fill my discography. Just got a couple records to go to fill that out. But listen to 10 a ton back in the 90s. Listen to this. Rarely does a month go by that I don't throw 10 on. The lyrics, the guitars, just everything about it. Went and saw Pearl Jam this year. Took my wife and my oldest, who's 18 now, and he just loved it. So still put on a great show. Probably my favorite band that's still together. If they come back this way again, sounds like they're going to be putting out a new album this year. If they go on tour and come back up this way, I will definitely be checking them out again. Album cover that you could walk into. I'm going to go with Bon Iver, self-titled. Now, see if I can get this up here without it glaring too much. I love hiking, love being outside. Every time I look at this album, every time I listen to this album, I should say, I just sit and stare at the cover. Absolutely love it. I think it would be so cool just to be able to walk into this painting, this cabin, this lake, everything that's on here. It's cool. Would love to be there. An album that sounds like greatest hits. Got to go with Def Leppard, Hysteria. I think this is part of it's my age. I'm in my late 40s. When I was a kid, this album was absolutely everywhere. Pour Some Sugar on Me, Animal. Actually, I got to pull this out and take a look at it. They released so many singles from this. It was all over MTV. It was all over the radio. I mean, just on side one, Women, Rocket, Animal, Love Bites, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Armageddon. All of those were singles. They're all songs pretty much everyone knows, and every time, which is very rare, that I throw this record on, it does kind of feel like I'm listening to Def Leppard's greatest hits. All right, last but not least, a record from 1974, so a record that turns 50 this year. Got to go with the Dan, Pretzel Logic. Steely Dan's an interesting band to me. I used to dislike them a ton when I was a kid. Revolution Radio out of the Twin Cities used to have this commercial. This is, again, in the early 90s, saying, I can't wait until Beastie Boys is considered classic rock, so I never have to hear that stupid Steely Dan song again. Just based off that commercial, I kind of disliked them. Truly dad rock. It's the production is so good. Becker and Fagan are fantastic songwriters. The musicians that they use on every one of their records is so good. And I absolutely love Pretzel Logic. So, hey, thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Like I mentioned before, if you enjoyed this, go ahead and subscribe and like, as I'm trying to grow out my channel a little bit here. Yeah, Happy New Year, happy 2024, and I hope I see a video from you in the future as well.